our man, Jeff Kerr, joining us now on Birds 365. Jeff, welcome to the show, man. It's Victory Monday. It's Overreaction Monday. We're a little late getting to you. I'm used to talking to you at 8:20. What's your take, Jeff? What'd you see yesterday in the game, brother?
The number one defense in the NFL played like the number one defense, and I wrote in my overreactions piece and called it a reality. If the Eagles win the Super Bowl, it's going to be because of their defense.
Yeah, and the running game and the offensive line. I mean, they deserve credit as well.
By the way, John, this kind of went unnoticed around the league, but Saquon Barkley cost people a lot of money.
Did he?
On
by
that
sliding?
By sliding. He was gone.
Yeah. Well, he saved me some money because I give away a jersey when he goes over 125, and I think he ended with like 123. But don't worry, Jeff. For the great people of JAKIB Nation, Quinyon Mitchell got his first interception, so I'm giving away a Quinyon jersey instead. So I'm still giving away something.
And it's a Kelly Green jersey, so fans will enjoy that.
That's a nice jersey there, Jeff. I don't give away junk here on JAKIB Sports.
Now, Jeff, already, and you're right, this defense can't give enough platitudes to this defense. But the one negative, Nakobe Dean, done for the season, significant knee injury. When you look at the potential of coming up, could be Aaron Jones next week, might be the Rams, but could be Aaron Jones. Potential NFC Championship game against Jahmyr Gibbs. That's frightening. How big do you think that injury is for the Eagles defense?
It's massive. You're losing the guy who got all pro votes this year. You can't replace that. Oren Burks can do his best, and that's fine. Oren Burks is going to be a suitable replacement, but this is the Kobe Dean. I mean, the only, in my opinion, the only worst player you could lose on this defense this year is Zach Bond. You can't afford to lose him. And I'm going to tell people this right now. Do not use the Kobe Dean injury as an excuse for why this team doesn't go to the Super Bowl, because the Detroit Lions have injuries.
Yeah. Well,
the Minnesota Vikings have injuries.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles Rams have injuries. So it's part of the game. It sucks. I talked to a lot of people about the Kobe Dean yesterday. Lane Johnson was very upset over the loss. Nolan Smith was passive.
Nolan was devastated. Well, they used to be roommates in college.
Yeah, they were roommates, and he said, "Look, they were two country guys on the farm, and he recruited him to Georgia." So this was a huge deal. I know Zach Bond was pretty emotional about it. Oren Burks was pretty emotional about it. I ended up talking to a couple players on the offensive side of the ball too, and they were, they weren't sure the severity of the injury, but they know that they got a tough road ahead.
Yeah, that's a shame. And Nakobe's such a good dude too, and he's had injury issues in the past as well. With the Liz Frank injury, was really hitting his stride, really having a great season. I remember back in the preseason when I was telling people Nakobe's playing well, and everybody was on the Devin White bandwagon. Remember those days, Jeff Kerr?
Devin White's still on the Texans? I don't even know.
I believe he's on the practice squad. Yeah. But I'm not sure. I have to look it up. But yeah, I mean, Nakobe really took a step forward this year. But as you mentioned, I mean, the attrition of look at what happened to Green Bay in that game. My Lord. I think they just lost another player. Poor Josh Myers, by the way. Gets hurt with 3 minutes left in the game. Looked pretty significant. He's a free agent. This is a tough sport, man. Tough sport.
It sucks. Like I actually thought Green Bay's offense was in trouble, not when they were losing receivers, but when Elton Jenkins got hurt. I'm like, how many injuries can this team sustain?
They could not replace Jenkins. I mean, both guys. The first guy they brought in had 2 holding penalties. The next guy had 1 hold. They couldn't. I mean, the drop off from Jenkins to what they put in there again speaks to the Eagles. Brett Johnson has had to play this year. Tyler Steen's had to play this year. They can persevere. So many other teams can't persevere in these types of situations. Now, linebacker might be something different, but we'll see moving forward. As far as the game last night, You probably heard us talking about Jalen Hurts before you came on. How do you judge that performance? It wasn't great to the point that Nick Sirianni, which I was surprised by, Jeff, flat out said, "Well, the offense wasn't good."
But Jalen would be the first to tell you he didn't play well.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah,
look,
I don't know why it's controversial.
I mean, look, he was efficient in the second half, 7 of 8. I put the stats up this morning. He was 3 of 5 against the blitz. I know you hate passer rating, John, but passer rating was really high.
That just means you didn't throw interceptions, Jeff. That's all it means.
Well, isn't that the key stat? Because if Jordan Love doesn't throw a pick, maybe the Packers win.
But the difference is there are guys. The key to good quarterback play is, yes, taking care of the football is most important, but also riding that sort of tightrope of, making big plays, stressing, when you can throw for 300 yards and have no interceptions that's when you're really playing good football. When you're specifically not doing stuff so you don't turn the football over, I would say it's not a good sign, but the Eagles keep winning. Well, you have to build the team specific.
That's where my respects for Nick Sirianni comes in. That guy just does not give a you-know-what about how aesthetically pleasing this thing looks. We're going to run the ball. Our quarterback's going to throw for 150 yards, and we're still going to win the game, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah, and that's fair, but then you have to give the credit to the people doing it. The number one defense, the offensive line, Saquon Barkley.
Right.
Those are the guys.
Well, yeah. They're the reasons the Eagles are going to win the Super Bowl.
If they do win it, it's going to be the defense, the offensive line, Saquon Barkley.
You know what? Jordan Mailata and Lane Johnson, I was asking them about what the Packers were doing, even with the zone reads and stuff like that. And they both told me they did not block well yesterday as a group, as an offensive line. They thought that's why Jalen.
Yeah, but they always say that. They were dominant. They're always dominant.
Yeah, but they are. They're perfectionists.
Yes. And that's what I'm saying. Like Jordan will tell you he played like shit and he's got like a 96 grade or whatever from PFF. Lane will tell you, it wasn't his best performance and he's out there. That's just the way those guys are. Yeah, I'm sure, the 6.75 seconds on the Jahan Dotson touch. I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nobody got near Jalen Hurts.
And I love what, Jalen said. I talked to Jahan Dotson about that. And, that was one of the reasons why I asked Jalen yesterday about Jahan and being more comfortable in the offense. And, Jalen said he's been doing a really good job. He's a guy, he didn't say that to us yesterday, but I know Jahan has told me this. Like, he's becoming a guy Jalen trusts. And I think you saw that when he got over. I mean, credit to Jahan because when Jalen threw it, I'm like, is that yeah, it was. So, yeah.
Well, it's good to get Jahan involved, and Jahan proved he can play a little bit in the Giants game, where he's the number one option for Tanner McKee. So he does have some talent. You know that. We won't troll you too hard on the.
You can troll me on Drew Hour. I'll be the first to tell you he sucked on Thursday night.
Yeah. Well, very good college defense. Notre Dame, but
5-star quarterback. Doesn't matter.
That is that isn't a 5-star quarterback.
I know, but that's what the recruiting services that pay money say he is.
Yes. But from the standpoint of this passing offense, I mean, I'm at the point where, all right, it shouldn't be this way, but it is this way, and they might win the Super Bowl despite it. So it's not changing now with potentially 3 games left to play. It's not changing. So you have to ride what you have as far as you can ride it. Is it fair to say that?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, you can game manage your way to a Super Bowl. It's happened.
Yeah, it has happened.
Yeah. So, and look, it's not like Jalen Hurts is a bad quarterback here. We're not saying Jalen Hurts is the 20th, 25th best quarterback in football here. He can still be a top 10 quarterback, throw the ball only. How many times did he end up throwing it yesterday, John? 16?
21.
21, I think.
21 it ended up. But, I mean, there was a stretch where I think he went 0 for 7 between the second and
Yeah,
third
well, he
quarter.
started 6 for 6, and then he missed his next 7. So early you said, hey, man, he looks good. And then it was just ugly from there.
Yeah.
And I think so. He started 6 for 6. That means he finished 7 for 15.
Yeah. So, and he was great on that one touchdown drive. I think he was 3 for 3 for 61 yards. A lot of it had to do with getting the ball to Devontae and got. By the way, John, do you think AJ Brown's fine? His knee injury.
I was great, Jeff. I meant to ask John about that because one catch for 10 yards yesterday. Was he a decoy out there? I don't.
Yeah,
John, you talked about being concerned about the knee.
Yeah, he's definitely dealing with something. He's not 100%, but he should get the ball more.
John, I was actually laughing when Brown. I forget who asked him about. Does he read the book because he's frustrated? He goes, "Why does everybody always think I'm frustrated?" I'm like, I almost wanted to say, "Well, you do kind of look pissed off a lot." So,
AJ's such a weird cat because he's such a nice dude, but everybody thinks he's always pissed off about something. I get his frustration.
Well, he does. I mean, guys, he does have a little
pissed off when I asked him about Deshaun yesterday. Him talking to Deshaun, I'm like, fine, I'll go to Deshaun and ask him. Deshaun told me the whole conversation. I'll keep that in house.
Deshaun would be pissed off, but yeah, I mean, when you get caught reading a book on the sidelines, now he ended up showing James Palmer the book, and he's got it highlighted and underlined. So it's not like
it looks like he's been slamming on the bench a couple times too.
Yeah.
Yes.
So and all the players, Jordan Mailata said he reads it every game and was adamant about it. I don't know, from the standpoint of, I think AJ needs to be more aware of how that looks to certain people, but he's such a unique guy. He doesn't give a shit.
I thought nothing of it when he was reading it, and when people.
We know him, so it's not that big of a deal.
But I thought it was playing what is it with getting shots of him on the bench? Last week they're getting him sleeping or whatever he was doing. On the bench
that
last
was funny.
Week.
Yeah,
it's like, let's just find the camera. There's somebody on the Fox or CBS broadcast. Just follow AJ Brown. You'll get something.
Yeah, which I think is what they do. And especially because the assumption is because receivers generally are not happy when they don't get the football. So the assumption is going in, you're looking, I think most of these people are looking for confirmation bias. Like they already come in with the thought process, oh, he's got to be pissed off. And they assume he's pissed off.
Well, they think everybody's Terrell Owens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but the nature of receivers.
But don't you think AJ is probably wants the ball a little bit more? I mean, I think he's literally a top 2 receiver in the NFL, and I'd be perfectly good to take him at number 1. I know not everybody would say that. I would be, based on the way he plays the game.
I mean,
he doesn't really get the ball, guys.
My mentality, if I'm AJ Brown, I am a second-team All-Pro. I'm an All-Pro every single year. Give me the ball. And that's okay.
All receivers want the ball. Every single one of them. And if they don't want the ball, you don't want that receiver.
Jahan Dotson wants the ball.
Yeah. I mean, that's built into it. Of course he wants the ball, but he doesn't create waves when he doesn't get the ball. I think that's the disconnect.
Well, John, there was a big thing that happened this year. Remember, they came out in the Steelers game and just started throwing to him left and right after the drama ensued that week of him, creating that, and Brandon Graham throwing some gas.
That was Brandon. I would say that was
Brandon. Yeah, but John, it was created by AJ in the locker room.
But Zander, don't you remember that Monday when we were talking about this? We were basically writing it off as a nothing burger until Brandon Graham said something.
Brandon Graham, there's no doubt Brandon Graham blew it up.
First of all, AJ admitted what he was doing. He was trying to point out, as so was Jordan Mailata, so was Lane Johnson, so was Jalen Hurts, so was Devontae Smith. Now, I remember talking on the postgame show in that specific game. I said, when AJ said passing, I said, oh boy, here we go. Because I knew what was coming. But everybody else again, those 4 players specifically said the same thing, but had some context as well adding into it, where AJ's what needs to improve, and he said passing. And, then people take
which at the time you thought it was funny. But
well, I think it's funny because I know him and I know what he's doing.
Yeah.
But everybody else said the same thing. Everybody else said the same thing, including the quarterback.
It's a shame, John. If you don't know AJ Brown, he reminds you of that guy that thinks he's really smart and he isn't, but he actually is really smart. He just doesn't know how to actually say everything.
Well, I think he did it purposefully. And to Zander's point, they were trying to fix the passing game because the belief inside the building was they needed to fix the passing game. And I'm at the point now where I don't know if they know. I don't know if they have to fix the passing game.
It's not
Conventional wisdom says they need to fix the passing game. At some point, you're going to need it to beat Detroit or Kansas City or Baltimore, et cetera, et cetera.
I think the Packers
maybe they don't need it.
I think the Packers need to fix the passing game.
They do, and they're bounced.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I brought this up. All right, I'll bring it up to you. The Packers got worse because people are too close to the Eagles here. So I'll use the Packers. The Packers got worse in the passing game when they started to lean on Josh Jacobs. It's not.
They really leaned on Josh Jacobs over the course of the last 7-8 weeks.
That's what I'm talking about. It's not, Occam's razor. Simplest explanation. The Eagles' passing game got worse because they leaned on Saquon Barkley. That's the unintended consequence of it.
I think Saquon's 2,000-yard season. Now he's got the fifth most rushing yards this season all time if you count the playoffs. Masked how bad or how disappointing this offense has been, if that makes sense.
Well, the passing offense, yeah. But part of the reason why it's so disappointing is because they're leaning on the running back because he's having an historic season. Like, would it be better to have Saquon at 1,500 yards and a better passing game? Maybe.
But then, they'll turn around and say, well, 15-3.
Exactly.
And
so
you can't
it's
argue
hard
that.
to argue that when they're winning game after game after
By the
game.
way, Lane had the quote of the day yesterday about if winning big or winning in the playoffs, like how you win the playoffs matter. He goes, unless you want a good Yelp review.
Well, yeah. I mean, in the playoffs, it's advanced by hook or by crook.
Yeah. You don't care how. I mean, look how Washington won yesterday.
Yeah.
And I keep being that cynic that you can't keep winning like this. You're going to get killed by somebody at some point.
They are going to get killed by Detroit.
Oh, that's what I said. And Commanders fans are all over me for it. I'm like, shut me up and beat them.
Oh, they're going to be, they're going to get murdered. But
they're not that good of a football team.
No, they're not. I agree with that.
Jaden Daniels is a hell of a player, though.
He is.
Yeah, he is. He's a franchise quarterback.
Boy, I got a lot of shit. All I said that week, Jeff, was Jaden Daniels is having a better season as a quarterback than Jalen Hurts.
There's nothing wrong with saying that.
No.
I mean, my God, it's not even fucking close. And people got a problem with that.
If you want to see Jaden Daniels as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL this year, I'd listen to you.
And by the way, I didn't even say he was a better quarterback because we went through this with CJ Stroud the year prior. People will adjust. There will be hiccups. But for this season, he's been significantly better quarterback than Jalen Hurts. Anybody who can't admit that is insane. Insane.
Well, people have hometown bias. It is what it is.
Yeah. But yeah, they're going to get wrecked while I say that by the Detroit Lions.
Who do you guys want? The Rams or the Vikings?
That's what I was going to ask you. So I'll let you go first, and then Zander and I will.
I think the Rams do have the playoff experience. They're my sleeper team in the NFC, but I think I want them over Minnesota.
Yeah, I think that's probably the right line of thinking. The only thing can I have the Rams with Sam Darnold at quarterback? That would be the best case.
Oh, the Rams wouldn't probably be there with Sam Darnold.
I don't know, the thing.
I've been on Sam.
Rams. I'd rather play the Rams as a team, but the thing that scares me more about them is Matthew Stafford, who's obviously a veteran quarterback with major playoff pedigree, or Sam Darnold, who seems to turn into a pumpkin every time the lights
we
turn on.
seem to forget something.
But
I
the
know
Sam
it was
Darnold hate. The Sam Darnold hate. I hope Sam plays well tonight.
Well, John, we only saw
one
one game where he had that was major importance this year, and he turned into a freaking pumpkin.
He won 14 fucking games.
And then he turned into a
and
pumpkin
only one
when it was the
game
women's
matters?
division.
They played the best team in football on the road, and they got beat. And by the
he
way,
was a pumpkin.
Yeah, I think it's unfair. So I'm hoping Sam plays well. But no, the Rams would be the easier matchup simply because you already saw it. And
we also seem to forget Saquon ran for 255.
Yeah. As good as Jared Verse was as a rookie, and as good as Braden Fisk was as a rookie, they're undersized. Yep. This offensive line will beat the living shit out of them again.
This game will be won in the trenches, and the Eagles have such an advantage. It's not even funny.
Minnesota, less sexier, but they got Harrison Phillips, who's this big 320-pound monster in the middle. Jonathan Bullard. They can't rush the passer, but you can't move them. They're
Brian
at least,
Flores will find ways to get to the quarterback.
Yeah, they're at least better equipped to somewhat hold up in the running game. I don't even think it's close. And I'm not saying Minnesota's going to beat the Rams because Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua beat them like a drum when they played in the regular season.
That was on a short week, though.
Yeah.
In LA.
But as a matchup, much more difficult matchup for the Eagles than the Rams. However, I think the Eagles will beat both teams.
That's how I feel.
But the Sam Darnold hate is astonishing to me. Astonishing. I mean, the guys won 14 freaking games.
You know what, John? I'll tell you why there is a lot of hate for Sam Darnold, and it's from a national. I think a lot of people, when he was at USC, and he was really good at USC, people just got tired of hearing how he's going to be this next great quarterback, and they love to see guys fail, especially when they're pick time. And he did. He did.
People love the misery.
I don't know. Like, John, I don't hate Sam Darnold at all. I actually think he's underrated and a really good quarterback. I just don't know if he's ready to handle the moment in the playoffs because I haven't quite seen him be able to do it when the lights were bright. I'm not saying that to try and hate on Sam Darnold. I'm really not. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he had an amazing year.
Well, I think
his coach deserves coach of the year because of what he did with them. But I don't think he's equipped yet to handle a moment like this in the playoffs on the road in Philadelphia. I just don't see that.
Well, I agree. I don't think anybody's equipped for that moment.
This is how I look at it. And I know I'm going way back here. This is like 25 years now. I still remember when Jim Miller had his breakout season and with the Bears, and he was throwing the ball well and managing the game well. And Jim Miller, can't stop Jim Miller in that Bears defense. And the Eagles beat the shit out of Jim Miller. Yeah, Jim Miller. I know Sam Darnold's much better than Jim Miller ever was, but it's kind of
no. I get why people, because people always boil it down to quarterback, and Matthew Stafford's a potential Hall of Fame quarterback.
He's got a case.
So I get from that standpoint, but I just think the Rams are a horrific matchup against the Eagles because of how light and the offensive line is just going to destroy him like they did the first time. And there's only so much Matthew Stafford can do. I get trusting Matthew Stafford more than Sam Darnold. I think you were insane not to. But yeah, I think, what was the Vikings win total coming into this season?
I think it was like 7. They were not supposed to be good.
Yeah. This guy wins 14 games, and so many people, shat upon him. That's why and deserve. By the way, if he finished this season the way he played against Detroit, if he has another shitty game, open season.
Well, we'll see tonight.
Yeah, open season.
But
he has had a very good season.
I agree with your point, though. I don't think it matters. I think the Eagles beat both these teams. I think
I agree with that.
The fight to Detroit.
Yeah, I agree with that. They're going to beat either of those teams. And by the way, as you saw in the press box with some fans trolling Robert Saleh, at the end of that game.
Yeah, that was
It is not comfortable to play in Philadelphia. I wouldn't pick the Lions if they had to come to Philadelphia. It is an awful place to play for a visitor. And I don't like anybody coming in here in January.
I mean, John, you were here for the 17 NFC Championship game. Can you imagine if it's Vikings Eagles again?
The only way to play well, the only way to play in Philadelphia if you're an opposing team is get on the board early and knock the crowd out of it. Because as much as I love the city of brotherly love and I love being a part of
They will turn quickly.
They will turn quickly. And I'm not saying that I'm not criticizing, but that's the truth. So
that's a fair criticism. That is a fair criticism.
Stops, then that's the way you win in Philly.
Perfect example. As someone who covers the Phillies and has season tickets for the Sixers.
Exactly.
Philly fans can make up all the bullshit excuses they want. That crowd got quiet. I don't care how many Knicks fans were in the building. That crowd was as loud as ever for Game 6 of the Knicks until things went south. Loud as ever. It didn't matter how many Knicks fans were in that building. Philly fans make their presence heard and felt.
I like Chippy Jeff Kerr. Yeah, I like it.
All right, Jeff, we got a super. I want to read Jeff the super chat that we got for him. All right, we got a super.
I'm not going to disagree with it. So
that was no, you might. All right. Well, you won't disagree with it, but you'll have a hard answer, I think. Brian Fleming, can we ask Jeff Kerr who's worse, Jalen Hurts or Drew Aller?
Drew Aller. Jalen Hurts is a all-pro quarterback. Drew Aller will be lucky if he.
Drew Aller's 5-star, baby. 5-star.
Yeah, he's 5-star, all right.
6'5" with a big arm, baby. That's like a pot of gold. You
know what? I'm getting tired of hearing about the potential of these guys. Like, I'm really tired of hearing about the potential of Drew Love. I shit on Drew Love all year. Man, did I get a just dessert on that on Sunday? What an overrated quarterback.
I guarantee you, Drew Aller is a first-round pick.
I agree, John.
Well, he will because teams are desperate.
Yeah.
But he's not leaving. So,
and I guarantee you, whoever takes him is tremendously disappointed.
Oh yeah,
in the long term.
By the way, Nick Singleton, Katron Allen, Tyler.
They played well. They played
that
great.
offensive line.
Singleton's a beast, man.
Yeah,
they
carried Drew Aller all season long in those big games. Penn State lost those big games. They can say the receivers, and I agree. But Drew Aller came up short and just looked like a deer in the headlights in a lot of big games.
And I'm with you with James Franklin. I used to defend James Franklin, but the difference between James Franklin and Marcus Freeman in the class department is off the charts.
I said to multiple people involved in that program, why did he say that? Why does he do this to himself? I don't understand.
I'm not a Penn State guy. It's embarrassing to watch.
I was very turned off by James Franklin. And Jeff, I would always defend him to the Penn State
fan base
sickos that would always want him fired after. I would always defend him because I think he's a good recruiter, and that's the most important part of being a college coach is recruiting. And I thought he did a good job. But he's just an asshole. There's no other way I can look at it.
I'm surprised he's as good of a recruiter as he is because to me, he comes off as a total phony. I can see it through the tip.
Now, he's a really good recruiter.
I know he is, but I'm surprised. It surprises me.
What bothers me about him is you do not say to the opposing team coach's face when you know bulletin board material is going around, they should be in the conference. You do not say that. He is going to relay that to his players. And he did, and he gives it. I don't know. James Franklin is the greatest used car salesman I've ever seen.
And by the way, I like Marcus. I become a Marcus Freeman fan.
I liked him when he played at Ohio State. He was a great player in college.
And I don't know if anyone has seen Marcus Freeman, but I think he could tear James Franklin apart in 10 seconds.
You ever see him play at Ohio State, John?
Yeah, I did. He still looks like he could play at Ohio State.
Oh yeah, he's a beast. It's funny. I can't stand Notre Dame, but man, is that team likable.
Yeah, well, the head coach is likable.
The head coach is real likable.
They got some likable dudes on there too. I remember a lot of it.
Yeah, I love watching the running back play.
Jeremiah Love.
Jeremiah Love.
Good player.
He's got a better hurdle than Saquon. He hurdles people every freaking week. And he's got a bad knee now because he's hurdling people, but so he should probably stop doing that. But I like watching him play.
He's a talent, though. He was part of that gifted class that Quinshon Junkins are in, and Travion Henderson and Nicholas Singleton and all these guys. Like, he's part of that.
Yeah,
Jeff, let me get back to
really
the game
good.
real quick. I want to ask you, coming into this postseason, I think it was fair to do. Me, John, I think you included, probably most people here listening to the show, viewed the Eagles in a light with maybe 4 or 5 teams that they were a legitimate Super Bowl contender. 14 teams make the playoffs, but you don't believe 14 teams have a chance to win the Super Bowl. I think it was 4 or 5 teams. Eagles were one of them. They certainly were for me. Did yesterday's game change anything for you in terms of how you view them amongst those top teams?
No, they're still amongst the elite. I mean, look, their defense shut down a top 10 offense in the Packers, and
top 5.
Yeah, top 5. And I mean, look, the Packers were, if you look at any statistics offensively and defensively, Packers were top 10 pretty much across the board. And
they might have been the most well-balanced team statistically.
That's why they were dangerous. That's why they were dangerous. And the Eagles just out-physical them. They bully balled their way to victory, and they can do that. That's why I'm so intrigued by them in Detroit, because Detroit is like that. And I want to see how kind of when they both clash. But
speaking of bulletin board, because you were talking about some of the bulletin board material James Franklin gave to Notre Dame. I didn't like that all pro stuff on Friday.
With Lane putting up.
Yeah, Penei Sewell. I'm like, why are you doing that?
He gave a good answer when we talked to him about it.
Yeah, I know he did yesterday, but he's very competitive. Yeah. And I don't know if Lane put it up. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. He never admitted that. We tried to get it out of him, and he never said yes or no.
Yeah, I would tone that stuff down. I would. That's what I would recommend.
Yeah, and you know what? I really did like his answer, though, about, look, he's a competitor. He said Penei Sewell's going to be a Hall of Famer, and he's not even 25 yet.
Well, he is. I mean, anybody that's not a slight. I get competitors using anything for motivation. It's part what makes them great. But being second team all pro to Penei Sewell is not a slight at all.
Not at all. I mean, look how AJ Brown views being a second team all pro to the guys he's a second team all pro.
Yeah. And one of them's Amon St. Brown. It should be. Yeah. It's interesting. I voted for, now I can say it, I voted for Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, St. Brown, and the first team all pros were Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, St. Brown, Amon St. Brown.
Yeah. Amon St. Brown he's incredible.
Yeah.
So
and AJ probably would have been if they threw the football more.
Yeah.
But they didn't. So it is what it is.
He had 1,000 yards and he missed 3 games.
Yeah.
Great. How many targets? How many targets did AJ get compared to a guy like Amon St. Brown or a guy like Jamar Chase?
I wonder if he even got half the targets Amon St. Brown got.
I wonder if he got half the targets Jamar Chase got, too. I mean, he didn't get the ball.
I think anybody watches this show knows how much I like AJ Brown. As both a person as a player, I constantly say he's the best pure football player on the Philadelphia Eagles. He was not a first-team All-Pro this year.
No, he was not. Yeah, I think that's fair.
I thought the only year AJ had a shot at first-team All-Pro was his first year here in 22, and he was the second team.
Yeah, it's not a slight. It's all I'm trying to say. And he was a second-team All-Pro, and that's where he deserved to be. There's nothing wrong with that.
The 2 guys that I thought were going to get first-team All-Pro did get first-team All-Pro.
That's true, and I told Zach Bond when somebody said the NFLPA team, I told him that day, I said, yeah, you got a good chance. Don't worry about it. It's not the real All-Pro team. And I'm glad he is on the All-Pro team. Guy who got biggest snub on the All-Pro team for the Eagles, in my estimation, Cooper DeJean.
Yep,
should have been first team slot corner.
And you know what? He got a lot of votes for that.
He got a lot of votes, rookie. They gave it to Derwin James, and I forget Marlon Humphrey. I forgot who was.
Yeah, Marlon Humphrey was a slot.
I thought Derwin James is more of a safety player. Did he play a lot of slot this year?
I argued he did play a lot of slot this year, but there was a conflation of he plays in the box as well, so he's more of a positionalist player.
Jesse Minter moves him around a lot.
Yeah, because he's one of those players. He's versatile and good. I give him credit. I'm not saying he's not a great player.
He plays, and I voted for him as a first-team safety, and I was told I had to move him to the slot. I'm like, well, he's not a first-team slot. So, unfortunately, I had to take Derwin James off my team because I'm like, he's a safety. I'm sorry. I'm not going to put him at slot.
Yeah, and that's really fudging it.
Yeah. So I would have voted for him at safety, but I wasn't allowed to. And Cooper DeJean got lost in that mix. He should have been first team slot corner. He should have been.
It's so hard to make the All-Pro team as a rookie too, because people just don't know who these guys are.
Yeah,
we're going to be honest,
and that's part of it as well. But getting to see him every day, he's been. And Humphrey, Humphrey did play more in the slot this year than he did outside because they moved him. He had a great year. I voted for him second team. But yeah, that's more up. They didn't want to vote for a rookie, but a lot of guys voted for him.
I'll say this too. Getting first team All-Pro meant a lot for Saquon. Probably just as much as running for 2,000 yards.
Yeah, I mean, he deserved it. I voted for Saquon first team. It's hard not to. He deserved it. Zach deserved it. Jordan Mailata deserved it as well.
Yes,
but he was second team.
How about everybody on the Eagles offensive line getting votes?
Unbelievable.
That's
the MVP. It's the MVP of this team. With all due respect to Zach Bond and Saquon Barkley and Vic Fangio and Howie Roseman, the MVP of this team is the offensive line.
John, this is a fun conversation. Somehow that offensive line got better, and they lost Jason Kelce.
I know.
It's incredible, man. It's incredible. And that's where I give Howie Roseman. Look, John, I know you say the offensive line is the MVP. You're not wrong about that for on field. But other franchises, you don't lose guys like Jason Kelce and have a replacement plan like this. You don't lose guys like Fletcher Cox.
He was their best defensive tackle last year. Fletcher Cox was, not Jalen Carter.
I mean, and you lost two potential Eagle Hall of Famers for sure, and maybe a potential Pro Football Hall of Famer in Jason Kelce. And you just said it, Jeff.
Oh, it's not potential.
Better.
Yeah, it's not potential. He is a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Well, the best example of Howie's greatness as a GM, go back to the draft. The Eagles were picking 22nd. They wanted their first once, so to speak, was one of those offensive tackle guards that they could start out at guard and potentially move out if Lane ever retires. And once it was Fautano, who was the last one they liked, went off the board at 20.
Yeah.
Then they shipped it to Quinyon Mitchell, which has worked out beautifully for the Eagles. But that's not the point. The point is the moment they didn't get Fautano was the contingency, and Becton was here a couple days later.
Yeah. It's funny how that works, isn't it?
Yeah. Always got the contingency. That's where he sets himself apart from other GMs. Always has the contingency.
I was talking to players about who they felt was the most improved player on the Eagles this year. A lot of them said Mekhi.
Mekhi, I think, got robbed in the Pro Bowl voting. Wasn't even an alternate. By the way, if you watch Saquon's run at the end where he slid, it could have been a 68-yard touchdown.
76.
Could have been a 76-yard touchdown. Watch Mekhi Becton's block.
Watch Mekhi Becton. Yeah.
And Mailata too had a seal, and they've done this numerous times. It's a kick-out block. Becton, Mailata and Goddard seal inside. Becton kicks out. Massive hole. Mekhi Becton's been great. Unbelievable.
And you know what, John? I know we talk all the time. Eagles got to sign Zach Ball, Eagles got to sign Milton Williams. No, they need to sign Mekhi Becton. That's the guy.
Yeah, they need to sign Zach Ball.
Well, yeah, they do. I'm talking about his. I don't think Milton's coming
Jeff,
back.
The only pushback I'll give you on that is that I trust Stoutland, to be able to turn something into a competent replacement more than I feel that we can replace.
Yeah, that's fair. Because remember, they still have Tyler Steen as well.
Yeah,
in the background. And if somebody wants to pay Mekhi Becton tackle money and move him back to tackle, there might be not much you can do.
Yeah,
But we got plenty of time to talk about the
But
offseason.
Makai has also said how much he loves being.
No, yeah.
He's told
he
me
does, and
plenty
I
of
think
times.
that's a factor. I do. I think it's a factor, especially for a guy like that who kind of seemed like he really hated his time in New York. He's kind of talked about how it almost made him hate
There are
football.
a few players that come from other organizations, and you can guess the organizations' names.
Right.
But in Philadelphia, there are adults in the room.
Yeah.
Yep, no doubt about it. Jeff, we're way over time, man. We appreciate you doing it today. Any final thoughts on the game? The Birds are moving on, Jeff. I think that's the biggest takeaway.
Yeah,
but any final thoughts from you, man? Before
I expected them to win. I mean, we'll see what happens. I got to watch a little bit of last night's game while I was writing post game stuff for CBS and doing all that. But tonight's game, I'm going to have a little more attention to. John, do you like the Sunday time?
Yeah, love it.
Best time of the week, I think.
I do too. I love these 3-4 o'clock games. I have time to get in and run in the morning.
Yeah.
I have time to kind of do what I need to do before I go to the game. I'm channeling my inner excellence.
I would always prefer one, but I'll take 3.
Yeah.
It's better than the alternative. There's no 1 o'clock.
Also, guys, you will not see me buy that book.
Oh, the book? Yeah.
Everybody's buying that book. I am not buying that book.
I'm not buying them.
I don't understand it. Why buy the book?
Yeah. I saw what AJ highlighted. I can just read that.
Yeah. You know what? I was inspired that AJ's reading on the sideline. I kind of wish it was like a Tale of Two Cities or something like that.
I love AJ. I can't. I just love him.
I
think he's part troll, part.
He is. It is funny.
Yeah,
he is.
You know what he is? He is what Joel Embiid wants to be.
Yeah, he's much more likable.
Don't bring up Joel Embiid right now, please.
I got one for you, Zander, before I get out of here. The Sixers came again to the second round of their arena development.
Yeah, how about this? Yeah. By the way, Josh Harris is out there celebrating this playoff victory with Magic Johnson, and rightfully so. I mean, the Commanders haven't won a playoff game since when, Jeff? 2000.
I know you guys don't care.
All right, guys.
Well,
Trivia question. Who is the quarterback of the last team the Commanders beat in the playoffs?
Well, they beat Tampa, so
yep.
2005.
Yep.
It all runs together.
Who you got, Jeff?
Chris Sims.
Chris Sims.
How
did Chris Sims make the playoffs?
Oh, we got one in the chat. Got to give him credit. Got to tip the cap to Real Zeal who picked up.
Hey, there you go. I like it. Good job.
How did Chris Sims make the playoffs? Was somebody hurt?
I think Brad Johnson got hurt and he took over.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense.
And then Brad went to Minnesota, I think, in 2006. I think that was his last year.
Oh, yeah, that was Brad Childress. Yeah. I got a good Brad Johnson story with Brad Childress. Should I tell it real quick?
Yeah, why not?
Go for it.
Brad, at that point, Brad was very smart, very cerebral quarterback, and he had binders of plays he liked to run and plays he had success over the years for. Obviously Super Bowl winning quarterback. People forget 98, the best team I ever covered. He was the starting quarterback, got hurt, and then Randall Cunningham came in. He was an overachiever, but he's very smart. That was the strength of his game. So Brad Childress was coming over to take the Vikings. And he was very excited because he was going to get one last chance. He was back with the Vikings, as you mentioned. And he was going to get one last chance to be a starter. And he was so excited. He went into the office. He had all his binders. He said, this is what I can do well. He's trying to, have a back and forth. And Brad Childress sat him down and said, hey, Brad, when you're a head coach, you can run what you want to run. I'm the head coach. We're going to run what I want to run. From that moment, I said, Brad Childress is going to be a bad head coach. And he was.
And it's so weird because he came from that school of Andy Reid that adjusts the players.
And he was a bad head coach. He had one good year with Brett Favre, and that's when Brett said, yeah, sit over there. I'm going to handle it. Basically is what happened.
He kept the job for 6 years because he listened to Favre.
Yeah. So,
Jeff,
anyway.
Thanks for doing it, brother. Thanks for going overtime with us. We appreciate your contributions. As always, love talking to you, my man, and we'll talk to you again hopefully after another playoff win next week, we'll see what happens. Brother.
I feel pretty confident that we'll be talking about playoff win next week. I could be wrong, but I feel pretty
All right, everybody get ready for Romulus, Michigan.
John, I'm with you, man. I'm with you. I'm ready to. I'm already ready.
John, are we carpooling? Are we flying? What are we doing?
Right, definitely flying. You can't drive to Detroit. Well, you can, but
you can.
How far is that? That's got to be what, 15
hours? 10 hours,
10, 12?
maybe.
Romulus, Michigan. That is where the Detroit airport is. What a town!
Here we go. Let's see what happens. All right, Jeff. Thank you, brother.
See you guys.
All right,
see you, Jeff.
Joining here on Birds 365. We're way overtime. A little playoff overtime for everybody here on Birds 365.
Yeah, we're way. Wow.
John,
way.
yeah, I know we went over. Well, you get Jeff is not a 920 guest, John, because we like to talk to Jeff. Jeff runs the down with us. A couple super chats, John, before I let you run, brother. All right. Seth Shifley says the Lions will get a nice warm-up game against the dual threat QB and Daniels before possibly facing Philly. Interested to see how Glenn handles the +1. That's an interesting take.
That's a good point. It's going to be advantageous for Detroit to get to see that, and they're going to have to deal with it. Yeah, but Detroit, I mean, their strength is not deep, but they're better than people think defensively. I think people obviously losing Hutchinson is a very big deal, and it has been, but they played for him now with a long time. They got Anzalone back. Brian Branch, as I always point out, very good player. Kirby Joseph, first team All-Pro. They got playmakers, and they generally play a different way. It's like, they get a stop. It's like arena football. I've used that analogy. There's score, get a stop, score again, and bang, you're up against it.
You think our defense can slow that offense down, though? Because that's what, every time I brought that up last night, everybody was saying, well, we have the number one defense. Why do you assume they're going to score 30 a game or 30 against us? I'm like, I don't know, man. I watch Detroit a lot. They impress the shit out of me. All right. I'm sorry, but that's just what I think. But I think it is fair to push back and say the Eagles have a number one.
I think it's fair to say that the Eagles have a better chance than anybody else, but I believe, and Detroit's had bad games. Everybody has bad games. They had the 4 interception game against Houston, and I think they still scored 30. I think good offense beats good defense in the modern NFL. I think that's where the game changed. If you're playing well offensively, there's only so much you can do to stop it.
And part of that's the legislation, right, Joe?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Nearly all of it's the legislation. It's just very difficult for defenses. Now, there aren't a lot of offenses that can hum at the level of the Lions, but when you get one, it's just tough to stop.
It is. And the one thing that I don't love now about going up against that Lions team is I think the loss in Kobe Dean hurts against the run. And if they can establish the run,
I think it's bigger in the passing game because Gibbs is just
they're going to murder Burks in the passing game with Gibbs. I mean, Gibbs runs routes like a receiver. He's so elusive and good at that as a receiver. I mean, I think he would give Dean a hard time. But
I was at that game on Sunday. Blake Cashman's one of the best coverage linebackers in the NFL. One of the best. I would say easily top 10. Before the Vikings lost that game, they had not lost with Blake Cashman on the field. They were like 13-0. He missed 2-3 games earlier in the season. They were 13-0 before they lost that game with Blake Cashman. That's how important he is, that defense. Gibbs out of his socks. Had no idea what to do with him.
We'll see what happens here. A couple more supers, John. We got to let you run here. Dirty Air Giants looking at chops, looking at Trowler. That's pretty funny. James Jones said, this is our resident Commander fan here, John. Shoot, keep sleeping. He got you, LOL, and the rest. That's my son. I think he's talking about Jane Daniels. He thinks they have a chance to upset the Lions.
You can't say that about me. I've been talking up.
Well, no, earlier in the show, you said you thought they were going to get beat bad.
Oh, they're going to get beat the brakes off in Detroit. But I think Jaden Daniels has had a phenomenal season. I got killed on this show for saying he had a better season than Jalen Hurts, which isn't even fucking close, to be honest. But
Did I kill you for that, or was that just the people?
No, it's just the people. I think you might have pushed back, but not
a little bit. Yeah,
a bunch of people killed
in
me.
hindsight, I mean, shit.
Yeah.
Let's be real here. Caleb Brandon checks in. Okay, finish up your thought.
Yeah, but with they had a very good season. They won their first playoff game since 2006, as we said. But I mean, yeah, that's not a good matchup for them.
I agree. Caleb Brandon says wide receivers wasn't open yesterday. Would rather Hurts force the ball and all the go routes. Just not sure what wide receivers people are seeing Hurts missing. The entire passing game can improve. I will say there must be a clip going around on Twitter. I'm on the show, so I can't watch it yet.
I saw the clip and the screenshot.
Orlovsky, yeah. Somebody keeps tagging me in a clip of Orlovsky.
I saw the screenshots, and Kellen Moore's getting, Nick took over the offense because the concepts are not there. It's the NFL. There are plays where receivers aren't going to be open. That's when the quarterback's got to adjust. And again, I said that earlier in the show, you throw the football away, you live to play another down, whatever you extend the play, you do it that way. A lot of things. Not every play. There were open receivers. He hit open receivers. DeMonte Smith, Dallas Goedert. There were open receivers. This nonsense of taking one play out of a game and saying nobody's open happens in every NFL game to every NFL team, including the Detroit Lions. There are plays when nobody's open for Jared Goff. It's the NFL. Can't take one play out of context.
Yeah, I agree. Worst behavior says sprinkle in a little bit of Taysom Hill type approach with Pickett and Hurts, or is that a stop it from J-Mac? Need a spark to the passing game.
What is
they want to see Jalen Hurts use this.
Jalen Hurts would be Taysom Hill, and Kenny Pickett's going to be.
Yes.
Come on, guys. Yeah, that's a stop it.
Some people are done looking at this passing game, John. I don't know.
By the way, not that it's a big thing, but I told you Kenny Pickett was going to be the friggin' backup.
Yeah, you did. Brian Pumper says, please, Lord, save me from Jalen Hurts' QB play. Please, I beg of you.
Brian, checking in.
Go to church, Pump. Maybe send a prayer up at church. He might help you there.
Yeah, he didn't have a great game.
And West Philly Lowe's. This guy, I was chirping this guy last night, John, because he says, oh, if we win, because I was criticizing Jalen Hurts. He's like, if we win, you're not allowed at the parade. I'm like, oh, okay, asshole. Now tell me how to live my life because you don't agree with me about football. I mean, come on. Watch Orlovsky's take on Jalen this game, West Philly says. I saw it. I'll watch it. I'm on the air. I can't watch it right now.
I love the people because I did, I'm sure Dan's going to shit on Jalen.
No, he didn't. He shit on Kellen.
He shit on Kellen.
I think that's what it seems to me.
Shit on somebody. That's his gig now.
Yeah.
That's his stick. And everybody, well, you didn't talk about Jordan Love. Well, yeah, everybody knows Jordan Love played like shit. Or Justin Herbert. I get a lot of, oh, you said Justin Herbert. That's another thing. Yeah, he is good. He had a bad game. Guess what? Joe Montana had bad games. Tom Brady had bad games. This nonsense of taking one game and conflating that into he's good or he's bad. Every single quarterback in the NFL is going to have bad games. Going to have good. The truly great ones starting. I always say, Peyton Manning is the most consistent quarterback I've ever seen from week to week. And even he had plenty of bad games. The goal is to have as many good games as possible, and that's what sets you apart.
No doubt. Johnny Mac, great show, man. We went way over time, but I feel like it's warranted today after you win your first.
Well, it's Victory Monday. Playoff Victory Monday.
Yeah, playoff Victory Monday. John, just your final thoughts, man. We wrapped it up. We talked about everything in the game. Your final thoughts after the Birds are moving on, and I think that is fair. That is the biggest takeaway of the game. But
only 3 hurdles left. That's my takeaway.
John, what you said on the postgame show has been ringing in my head since you said it. You're right. I mean, I can keep complaining about Jalen, but they just keep knocking down pins, man. They keep knocking them down.
And with all due respect to the LA Rams and the Minnesota Vikings, I don't think that's a difficult hurdle. You got 2 hurdles from my perspective. Now you got to go out there. The Eagles are not going to approach it like that. They have to take it very seriously. But you're talking, There's some crazy shit would have to happen for them to lose to the Rams. And some crazy shit would have to happen for them to lose to the Vikings. And then you start talking about Detroit and whether it's going to be Kansas City, Baltimore, Buffalo, whomever you like. And those are difficult hurdles. Those are legitimate hurdles. But they're got, maybe you can win this way. If you would have, I've been saying all year, I don't think you can win this way. Now I'm wavering. Maybe
Trent
they
Dilfer,
can win
that's what
this
we got,
way.
right? Right now, it's a Trent Dilfer-esque situation.
He's better than Trent Dilfer.
Yeah, but he's not playing better than Trent Dilfer.
Well,
he's a better player than Trent Dilfer. Yes, agreed 100%. He's not playing like that, or forget that. He's not being asked to do much.
He's not being asked to do much, but he played. Trent was horrible that year. He's played better than Trent Dilfer.
All right,
but you're right. He's not being asked.
Yeah, I just mean the sentiment of not having an elite quarterback and going and winning a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Because everybody always talks about, Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. So,
yeah.
All right, John, good stuff, man. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm going to give away this great Quinyon.
All right, Quinyon, the big pick. Good job by Quinyon finally getting over that hump. And good luck, everybody, to win the Quinyon jersey.
All right, Johnny Mac. Good stuff, brother. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning on Birds 365.
All right, Chris Franklin. He'll be here tomorrow.
Great stuff. All right, there's Johnny Mac here on Birds 365. Great takeaways from him. Great show today on Birds 365. I thought we had a lot of good conversation, a lot of good opinions on the game. And look, I think it's fair. I think it's fair to say we can win this way and we're moving on in the playoffs. I'm perfectly cool with that line of thinking. For those who watched the post-game show last night, I brought on a lot of people in JAKIB Nation. We had my guy right on the bench come on. He ripped into me. We won a playoff game. Who cares what it looked like? Who cares about Jalen? Who cares about this? That's fine. That's fine. Just accept that we as a fan base have moved the goalposts on what we expect from our quarterback. If that's what you want to say, I'm cool with that. Because I'm starting to think the same thing. We don't even need Jalen to be great. Okay? But accept that we've moved the goalpost. That's perfectly okay to move the goalposts. But do yourself a favor and thank Howie Roseman, okay? Thank Howie Roseman for building a roster like this, because most teams would not be able to survive in the modern game with quarterback play like you're seeing in Philly.